Right? So you have to ensure that you verify, authenticate the buyer, whether it's a genuine buyer or a fake buyer. Right? Is it a scam? Not just from the buyer, but also from the merchant, whoever sell. Right? It's a two end. There's two parties. Right? You can be scammed by a buyer. You can be scammed by your merchant, sell you fake thing. Right? Or buyer who trick you into selling the merchants and product, and then you didn't pay up. Right? So the fraud from the buyers and seller, and they are also attacked. Okay, by attacking the mobile infrastructure. Like I say, bring down your network. Right? You could have power, but you don't have internet. No use. You can't do transactions. Right? You can't do your business, e-business. Right? And you have to ensure business continuity. Right? A secure e-commerce means if you have a 24/7 kind of e-banking system or business round the clock, you must make sure it's 24/7. Right? How can you have, like, you see during the wartime, it's always alternate days they got power. Right? If you look at the Ukraine, right? They try to conserve, okay, especially now winter time over there. They don't have enough power or generators, right? So they have to conserve, and certain time, if you look at Myanmar, they also having war, okay, occasionally. What happened over there? They also tell you, only internet accessible between certain period, maybe 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. After that, they cut down on the internet, or they conserve the electricity, right? So they regulate. So you must have a way to ensure business continuity. Right? What if your web server or your payment gateway server is down? Is there a secondary or backup? Right? Or your database is down, your network is down. Do you have another backup system? This is about getting your business, okay, to be able to continue. Right? Even if one server, one network is down, your main infrastructure is down, do you have an alternative hub? Right? Just like if the 5G is down, then we might depend on Wi-Fi. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is still up. Right? So business continuity plan, do you have one to avoid any disruptions? And you need to have defense system, okay, like firewall, antivirus, okay, later we'll kind of touch on it. And do you have any other form of attack that could also come? Okay, later we'll talk about social engineering attack, phishing attack. Right? We'll talk about this, as well as people try to sabotage. Okay? Sabotage you. So within the country, there are also got spies, okay, who actually can also bring down your defense system. Okay, you have of course you even have your own company. There are somebody who are trader, okay, can betray the company, okay, or people who are not happy with the company. Right? These are people who can play this kind of espionage game. Right? Attack from the social network. Okay, so you got people spamming you, okay, bad mouthing you, so you need to have a way. Right? DOS attack, denial of service attack. Right? If you can't bring down the system, you overwhelm the system also can. Right? Example, Singtel have been providing you with network, okay, but you bring in your own access point, you bring in your own wireless, okay, radar, and yours is so strong, powerful that you overwhelm, okay, the Singtel network, okay, or you go and spam those Singtel network. Right? If the Singtel network cannot support so many transactions, so many people using the network, right? You basically bring down the services, just like a web server. Right? Sometimes if there's a lot of people doing a transactions, a lot of people accessing your server will slow down. The response will not be very responsive. That's what we call denial of service attack. Right? Where you can overwhelm the server with lots of requests. Right? King of death attack. So these are some. So it's essentially what you try to do is like you clock the whole thing. Right? Just like email. Sometimes every morning you read an email, then suddenly one day, one morning you come in, wow, you got 500 spam email. That's also denial of service attack. Right? Imagine 500 over email. How are you going to clear them one by one? You might want to delete them one by one, or you can get through. And you might not want to delete one shot. Okay, a block delete, because you might miss out on some important email. Right? So these are general concerns of e-commerce securities and how we can actually deal with it. Right? So why is there such concern? Okay? Mainly is because initially the internet, okay, is more for sharing. It's a public, okay, internet. So it has some vulnerability. It has some flaw. Right? It was designed since the 90s, and of course it has some flaw. If you want something to be shared freely, obviously you can't have it to be too secure, right? Otherwise, very difficult to share information, right? So there are some vulnerabilities because of this internet, okay, and of course there are some is profit driven. Okay, there must be a reason. For example, there must be a reason. People want your contact number. People want your email address. If I can get 1,000 email contact or phone number, okay, maybe I can sell it to somebody, okay, or merchant who want to spam you, who want to broadcast, right? Something like a sales lead, or they want to reach out to you, right? So there is a profit, there's a value for trying to get your credit card number. Maybe I can use your credit card number and make some purchase online. Right? Especially now, everything is online purchase, online payment. Right? So if I have got your credit card number, if I got your CCV number, right, I might be able to do transactions. Okay. Well, of course, with the advance of wireless, okay, it makes it even more easy for anyone to basically infiltrate your network or even use your network, because it's wireless, it's omnidirectional, it's all over the place. Right? Anyone who wants to eavesdrop your transaction could be next door, could be downstairs, could be upside, right? Because wireless. Right? People can access, tap into your network, they can eavesdrop, they can record your transactions, okay, and there are so many transactions going on, okay, on the internet that it's difficult to monitor, right? It's difficult to monitor and track. So attackers can be also at the other end of the world, and they can still launch an attack, right? On the internet, hackers can basically launch an attack from anywhere, any part, and sometimes very difficult to trace, right? Because it went through network after network, and went through various internet service provider, and also very easy for them to do impersonations, okay, or fake the IP address, right? And of course, there's this dark net, okay. So dark net basically refers to a part of the internet, okay, that are not searchable by Google. So there's certain part of the network people actually set up, okay? And this dark net, because it's dark, okay, it's just like anonymous. People who serve there, they don't know each other, and you can't tell who is it. Right? Basically, is they use different IP kind of protocol, right, addressing. So, and they are not like advertised on the Google or anywhere that's searchable. And of course, you need special software to access. Basically, it's like intranet, you know, but just that these are not discoverable, right? And these are dark network, very it could be legitimate, it could be not legal one, right? Legitimate, as in there are some legitimate purposes, is because people want to have somewhat like an intranet. their own network. But they don't want people to discover them. They don't want people to know who are inside there, because it's like secret society, secret network. Okay, it could be for some defense system. Okay, it could be for the army, right? They don't want people to eavesdrop only for privileged group, right? So it can be something bigger, but it can also be something that is associated to black market. Okay, illegal activities going on, especially like the black hat hackers, right? They use it to basically launch an attack, launch a denial of service attack, launch a flood attack to certain region, okay, and where they can use to perform cybercrime. And this is very popular against a lot of those army, right? Armed forces, they used to have a lot of those, right? Like Russia, North Korea, they always have one. Other than the army, the navy, they have also a cyber attack forces, right? Somebody who can penetrate somebody's army website, right? Defense website. Okay, they can go into, like I say, one of the most important. Instead of launching missile to attack like PUB, utility services, water services. Okay, because why? Now all the power plant, okay, nuclear power plant, electric power plant, hydraulic power plant, all these plants are all what? Using software. Okay, using software to manage the generator, using software to on the pump. Okay? Everything is software, application driven. When something is software, when something is connected to the network, hackers can try to penetrate some of these network utilities management system, electric distributions, power distribution network. To what? To cut them out, to shut down. Right? You can on the power supply, the pump. You can divert the electricity. You can also cut it off using software. So this is where the warfare comes in. Without even shooting any missile, I can penetrate. If you don't have a very good defense system or firewall, or I can also use just bribe your engineers, your network engineers. I can always go to power PUBs, Singapore Public Utilities Board. I can get into the Singapore water supply. Okay, talk to the people, right? The system administrator, the network administrator, or the database administrator. Okay, I can easily bribe some of these really not so good pay one. Okay, bribe them. Okay, do social engineering, attack. They know about social engineering attack. So people can use what? Beautiful ladies. Okay, good. You can be friends with all these specialists. Okay, network specialists, they will be giving you away what? All the password, all the access to go inside your electric power supply management system, and then I can have control, right? So these are various ways of attacks. There's also the keystroke key logging, right? Key logging software is also a very very easy way to retrieve password, right? You just go Google. There's a lot of this key logging. Key logging is basically what? Record whatever keystroke that you enter. Right? I don't have to. You can have a very good firewall system. Okay, you can have a very good defense system. But if I have a way to find out your password, either by standing behind you, look at what you need, just like an ATM machine, you go to ATM and draw money, you just stand behind someone, you can see his password, right? Keylogger software, keystroke, basically record all your what you type in the keyboard, right? So I can plant the software, okay, a daemon, and it can basically record all my keystroke. Especially when you first switch on your laptop, what are the few things you type in first? Your user ID and password, isn't it? Right? After that, you open up, you go into your email, you go to Moodle, you key in your user ID and password. So every day you'll be doing that, and if I can record your keystroke, whatever key you key in, I can basically capture. Right? And some of these keylogger software can also email me what you do. I don't even have to monitor all the time. I just get the software to monitor and then send me all your keystroke, what you type on the keypad, what you type on the keyboard, and send me the text file, right? And I can slowly analyze, right? And find your user. I can capture what you type. So this is also another kind of attack where they can capture, record whatever you type. And that's good enough. That's why you see in some of the point of sales terminal, right, the keypad itself has to be secure. The ATM machines, right, other than looking from back, they also have to make sure that the keypad, when you enter those numbers, straight away the numbers has to be encrypted before it's sent out and leave the keypad. That's how secure the keypad is. Otherwise, people can actually record all your keystroke. Right? So the attack will be are getting more and more sophisticated. Okay, so it's sometimes very difficult to basically discover. Okay, and there are always new software or new vulnerabilities that they discover, new loophole in the operating system. Right? So there are many terms over here, right? Either you get into one of this or malware. Malware are malicious software, like those Trojan horse, where it looks as if it's a harmless kind of software. It thought it's like a games, but actually there's some malicious software that's planted in, and slowly it could be sending out informations about you, or even destroying your data, and slowly deleting your data. So those are malicious software. As I also mentioned, right? Every time you download something, right? Some of the software could have access to your phone book, your email address, or even vital hardware devices to have control over your front camera, back camera, your GPS, right, and then maybe the Bluetooth, right? So you can access. So they might even switch on your Bluetooth, switch on your front camera without you knowing, and then recording. They can also switch on your speaker, right, your mic, and start recording whatever chat you have been conversing with your friends. And all this information recorded could be sent out through Bluetooth, infrared, or through the wireless means, and then email to someone else, and I can just put all your information. Right? So phishing attack, this is phishing attack. It's something like you phish the information by what? Come in with a fake web pages, with the user ID and login. So, and then you thought it's a real website. Like for example, you go to dbs.com. Right? And I can come up with a similar DBS, exactly same green, same look and feel, red color, the design is the same, exactly. I can copy everything, right? All I need is what? To have two text fields to capture your user ID and password, right? And you harmlessly just key in. You could have been under redirect attack. You could be typing the wrong right address, right URL, but I have already attacked your DNS server, and it will redirect you to my URL, my website that looks similar to a banking website, and I can capture your user ID and password. Right? After you enter, happily, I prompt again. Say, I think you key wrongly. Can you key in again? Right? Sometimes we thought, I think you type wrongly. Okay, try again. User ID, password. Yeah, then very good. Double confirm. Then I double confirm. Okay, because you enter 3 times user ID and password. I double confirm your user ID and password. Very good. Right? So maybe I can also quickly, right, with your user ID and password, I can use that to enter DBS website, enter user ID and password. So what will happen? The real one, when I enter, right, over here, I capture your user ID and password. I saw your user ID and password. Immediately, I enter into the real one, right? And what happened? One-time password is sent to your handphone, right? Then I can fake a user ID and login ID. The next thing, I'll pop up. Can you enter your one-time password? And then you harmlessly thinking it's correct. You enter the one-time password, isn't it? Then I use that one-time password, I see, and I enter into the real website. Voila, I get into your website, right? And of course, over your end, sometimes you also receive. I can come up with another menu page and say, sorry, system busy. Okay, can you try half an hour later, especially Sunday, midnight? You always get that kind of message, right? System under maintenance. Can you try back half an hour or next day? Right, next day even best. So you thought, oh, okay, system down, system busy. I have already got your user ID, password, one-time password. Even you have second factor authentication. I have ways to go in. I already access to your bank account, and I tell you try back half an hour. You know, half an hour I can already do a lot of things. I can transfer fund already to somewhere else, right? Because I already got access to your account, right? I can use that to do a lot of things. Okay, or worse, I tell you, try back tomorrow. I got at least 12 hours to spoon off your balance, right? So this is one way, okay, phishing attack. Social engineering attack is something like this, like I just now mentioned, right? Try to befriend you, right? Try to befriend you, but I can also attack through your the weakest link, right? A lot of the bosses, their weakest link is their secretary, their personal secretary. Befriend the personal secretary, right? Get a handsome chat, right? Or ask him things, okay? Hey, when you surprise your boss, what is his date of birth? Or then you get also some sensitive information, right? So that is through social engineering. Try to befriend, trick people into giving, very important, secret information, right? Social engineering, right? And of course, you try to spam. And spam is basically trying to overwhelm your services so that it can be a denial of service attack. And then look for vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities could be somebody never do patches or never update their operating system, so they are still using the old OS, old platform. So there are some loophole. Hackers can make use of that to attack. Zombie is something like you make use of a lot of other devices and try to launch a similar request onto your server or your machine so that your service, your machine got overwhelmed, hang, and bring down, right? So basically is attack, not necessarily they'll be stealing your information, right? It could also be you want to use a service but cannot use, right? So that is also another attack, right? You want to read your email, cannot read. You want to go into your bank services, cannot hack, right? So those are also a form of attack. This is the keystroke software. You can see it. You can go to Keylogger anywhere. It's free. It comes with software or even devices, right? So you can install the software, on certain machines, especially your lab, machines. It's a shared, especially public desktop machines. It's shared, right? Because the students before you could be secretly plug in the Keylogger and install that software, and then when you come and use the PC or even the instructor PC over here, you can secretly put a Keylogger software, and then when the instructor comes, he could be entering his Windows password, user ID, and Moodle, and if you have access, maybe you have access to some of the exam paper, right? questions, etc., or shared network, like some of the OneDrive, etc. Right? So all you need to, maybe before the lecture start, you can even get a hardware. The keylogger also for hardware devices looks like a harmless USB thumb drive. Just plug into the USB port, okay, and then it can basically start recording the keystroke that's been entered into this keyboard, right? Because this wire here is not encrypted, right? This keyboard is not, doesn't have the encrypting software. So whatever, if I type J, it will send out a J. If I type A, it will send out A. And all this can be recorded, okay, through the USB port, right? The keylogger can also double as a Wi-Fi connections, okay? So whatever it record, you will basically send out a Bluetooth to some key nearby, right? It could be one of the students who are very funny. How often does anyone check the USB port? And there are so many USB ports on the desk, this desktop, in front, behind, and somewhere here also. So you just have to pick one. Not easily, okay? If you are within this vicinity, you could be. Every time I key something here, you'll be streaming on the keyboard keystroke into one of the mobile devices, and I can capture whatever you type there, right? So keystroke, you can record it, right? So this is either software or hardware. So these are various means, right? So especially when we are doing business online, we really have to be careful about all these kind of weaknesses, okay, as well as the different form of attack. And some attack could be unintentional, not attack, but some threats are unintentional. Human error, make mistake, okay, sent to the wrong place. Okay, like yesterday I didn't manage to capture. I think there was maybe somewhere. Okay, but next time I'll show you. You can go and look at yesterday, right? I think it's the insurer or what, insurance or something, right? You go and send broadcast people's NRIC, 100 over or thousands of text file containing the property agents NRIC and their and maybe something. I'm not too sure about handphone, but these are all personal data, and then just unintentionally sent to the wrong. Okay, and that occurs to most of us also. Sometimes we want to send, especially next time you are dealing like student registration, right? You could contain the whole class reps, class list of students' name, NRIC, email, and phone number, and then unintentionally you want to send to lucy.sim.edu and end up lucy@yahoo.com. Some end up sending those secret information or sensitive personal information to someone else. And that's what happened to yesterday one. Thousands of properties agents contacts being sent out to a wrong recipient. Right? And some of these recipients could be using this. Okay, wow, this imagine even like me, I have to be careful. Right? I have 200 over students in contact email. Right? Who would want your information? Agents, insurance agents, might be hunger, especially if they know your final year students are very good. Next year they're graduating. Insurance agents, they will be happy to get a list of this. They know they're willing to pay $500 or $100 for that contact list. Why? Because when you start work, when you start graduating, you'll be looking for a job, and once you got a job, you'll be next few things you will have a lot of insurance agent coming to look for you because you're fresh, you got income, and you might not have an insurance yet, right? So, but it's also important that you need to buy insurance. So they would love to sell you extra insurance, right? They would love to get hold of those. So these are sales leads, right? So over here, something also happened, right? Like simple thing, airline ticketing. This happened donkey years ago, 2019. Not really donkey. It's most like more than 6-7 years ago, 2019. But this is still happening, right? This is where when you put up a price, okay, especially you can buy air tickets from some of these ticketing.com, okay, booking.com, okay. So all these pricing lists, the pricing has to be accurate, right? Especially when you key in the price, right? Look at this, first class air tickets supposed to be selling at 16,000, key wrongly, okay. You never see is the first class or is it the economy class? Maybe the economy class are all like 600 plus, right? You know, in the airline industries, they depend on the first class to reap profits, right? A lot of times, the first class tickets are the one who subsidize those tickets. And sometimes you find, wow, fly to US only $1,000, so cheap. Oh, fly to Japan, 600-700, so cheap. Wow, that cheap, Grab. Right? It's always the first class and the business class who actually subsidize, okay, for those economic class. Right? The economy class really cannot make it on the kind of price. How to fly you over there? Very expensive. Right? So a lot of time, so you cannot afford to make mistake on the first class or business class air ticket. Imagine somebody key wrongly, accidentally key the price list at 600 something online and goes live, right? You know, there are a lot of people, bargain hunter out there, and just like my sister-in-law, constantly always looking for cheap ticket, like on SIA, Qantas, and going to Europe. Every time, 6 months in advance, planning for holidays, they regularly go there and eyeball on this ticketing. Anytime got cheap tickets, immediately go in and grab. And this is what happened, right? Imagine you just go in, key wrongly, and maybe realize the mistake just half an hour later. You know that half an hour, a lot of people will be seeing and they could be making purchase. And this is what happened, right? They make a mistake and cause the whole airline to lose money for a few of those flights, right? It's an expensive mistake, right? It's an expensive mistake. So unintentional human error. So don't think just selling things on the website, on the e-marketplace, especially big companies like Qantas, Cathay Pacific, SIA, they have to swallow the mistake. They have to, for the long run, you have to honor. If people make the purchase or genuine purchase, you're the one who put in the wrong price tag. Okay? And people might thought it's a bargain or a big discount. Right? If they make the purchase, if the purchase is legitimate, you have to honor. Right? So, unintentional human error. So, entering this, you have to make sure that there are people who verify your entries before you broadcast. Right? If you are the manager, if you are the director, you have to make sure that don't let the data entry card, okay, anyhow enter the number, right? And then anyhow enter the pricing. Right? You could be in for some problem. Or you could be hacking. Somebody go in and hack your price list. That's also another one. Right? People can deface your website, can change your website. They can also change your pricing, right? If they have access to your system administration website. So you have to be careful, right? So these are attacks that could happen, right? Instead of changing your data, corrupting your data, stealing your data, they can alter your data on the website, right? Especially if you are selling big item things like this, right? So you have to make sure your web hosting, okay, system and insight is well protected. Right? And make sure the role access are given appropriately. Right? Who have access to changing the pricing? Who have access to certain level of important information? Right? So you have to ensure the access rights are given properly, and you have to constantly monitor and manage this. Right? Attack could come from email, could come from wireless devices, smartphone, mobile phones, etc. So there are some people, attackers are constantly up to find your weakest link, weakest point. Right? The strength of your securities will depend on the most vulnerable part of your security peripheral. Right? So in e-commerce securities, you find that there are a few requirements, right? At least 5 of this, right? 5 of this. Right? So sometimes exam comes up, you must be able to know how to explain that. And on certain occasions, some students don't even know how to spell it correctly. Authentication. So authentication is a process of verifying the real identity of the e-commerce users or whoever coming in, right? Just like using user ID and password. But also, other than that, must be able to verify they are who they are legitimate customers or legitimate merchants, right? So while you go to the DBS website, DBS has to authenticate whether you are real DBS customers. At the same time, customers also have to verify, am I going to the right DBS website and not some fake website, right? So it's a mutual authentication. Mutual authentication, both ways. I have to authenticate you, you have to authenticate me, right? So it's a way to verify and ensure the real identity of individual, if not the company, or even the program, right? Then you have the authorizations. Right? I authenticate you, I verify that you're who you are, you're these employees, but do you have access? Right? Do you have the access? Just like just now you see, pricing list, setting the pricing of the airline ticketing. Not everyone can have access to go and change. To change, to drop 10 could mean a difference. Right? $10,000 ticket become 1,000. There's a lot of differences, with just one digit, or even the comma or the decimal place that put at the wrong place. So you must make sure, only authorized people can access to some of this setup. Right? Authorization. Who have the authority to read, to write, to update, to delete, at least CRED, for those who have seen. At least 4 things. Who can create? Or somebody can go in and create another flight, right? And then solicit a lot of payment, but later on, there's no such flight going to Japan or what, right? So you must prevent people don't anyhow create items, right? So authorizations. Who can read? Who can update? Who can create? Who can even delete? Right? Some people. So you need to have some of this, right? And then you also need to have auditing, right? For anything that you do, must lock down traceabilities. Who created this? Then you must stop and go find. There's Windows audit. Also, your system, does it trace? Does it monitor? If you don't have that mechanism, then you can't find. I don't know who create. The system never capture. Then how you find? Who deleted this item? Who changed? Just like just now. Somebody can make a mistake, or whether somebody go and change the pricing. People, investigator will come after you and say, hey, you have let's see the audit trail, right? Logging. Everything that you do has to be locked down, right? So that you can trace who did this. And then next time, you can prevent it. Availabilities, right? E-commerce security, just now we talk about business continuity plan. right? BCP, right? Business continuity must ensure that it's always readily available when you want it. Just like when people want to buy airline ticketing, they can buy it. When did you see that ticketing.com or what, Agoda are down? They are up all the time, right? If your website, your services are always constantly off or not available, right, then people might skip you eventually, right? Because they are not always on. If you look at all the e-marketplace, they're always available 24/7. Whether it's Chinese New Year, whether it's holiday, or whether it's peak hour or peak. It must always be readily responsive and available, even during peak hour, even during launch, right? It must be always there, right? So that people can make the purchase. I don't care whether what there's some search in people logging in and trying to buy just at the strike of the midnight. Okay, when you have a sale, right? Because sometimes we are sales are within these 10 minutes. Not too sure you remember last time the 10-cent deal. 10-cent deal on Shopee also got time period one. Within these 10 minutes, you must go in and buy. They only give you a very short. So immediately a lot of people will go in during that 10 minutes. And then you must have a server, resources readily available to support such search in usage and people requesting. It could be what? Usually on average about 1,000 people concurrently all going to your services or going to your system. Now you might make sure that your system can take in 100,000 or even 1,000 times. Okay? Of people coming in because it's global. Right? So availability of your system, which means that you need to have redundancy. You need to have a server, a system, a network that is scalable, that can scale up. Right? You need to have a database that can afford to handle multi-threading. Right? Imagine you cannot have every time only one update onto the database. Right? You might have what? 100,000 updates, right? Especially like during even model system, e-learning system, have to support at least 500 students all trying to submit their assignment. Remember during the COVID, when the exam, all online exam, when the exam end, everybody stop writing, all submit your attachment. That's the time where people are sending in, spamming, sending big, huge pictures, Big Mac, because they're using pictures, right? I ask them to take pictures of all their answer script and then attach them and then send out. Okay? Can you imagine 500 students sending at least one few hundred meg or megabytes or some even video recording, right? Like I asked for your video recording, right? Okay, 1-2 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay, before the deadline, there could be a few hundred students also trying to submit, right? So you must ensure that all the submissions must be saved properly, okay? And you don't drop any of the connection. It also happens when some students say, sir, my computer hang, okay, can't submit, right? And the deadline, the time is over. The link disappeared, right? Submission links not available for submission, right? So your system must always be readily available. So do you have the bandwidth, the network to support such overwhelming transactions coming in, availabilities? This is also a big computing areas, to support. Non-replications, you must also be able to explain what is non-replications. Right? In the e-commerce wireless, when you do a transactions, you do already, you sign it, you must honor, right, that transaction. You cannot say, hey, I never submit these transactions, I never make this purchase, right? So is there a way to prove that you did? This is non-notifications. That through digital signature, I sign it, I endorse it. This is a valid transaction. Okay, so e-commerce securities requirements. You need to verify, you need to know as the ability to authorize. Only authorized people can do the transaction. You must have a way to trace who did the transactions, okay, to ensure nobody can dispute, pretty much like the non-repudiations. Okay, how do I know that you have given the marks? How do I know? Because there was your digital signature, which later we'll talk about it. Only you and the only one who can make the transactions, or only you can approve the transactions. Okay, so how do you ensure that non-repudiations, right? And availability, that's when people want the service, it's not like it's not available because it's gonna attack, right? So you must make sure that the service is always up, right? And people measure some of these availabilities. Just like your SMRT, your train, train services. Some people always tag, my availability is 99.999%. Right? Nobody dare to say 100%. Right? So there's always chance that there might be some problem. Right? And then when there's a problem, how fast can you bring the system up? That's also another very important questions for you guys to answer. Right? So defense, this came out in the exam also quite often. Right? So what are the strategy to defense? So there are at least three defense system security strategies. The first one is deterrence. Deterrence method. Warn you law. Deterrence. You put up sign, tell people, don't cheat. You deter, right? Just like you go to some of those banks or those army, right? They always got those warning signs. Don't go over the fence. Don't penetrate the fence. Right? They got warning. There's dog. There's a security guard. So that is deterrence. I warn you, right? Deterrence. Second way is you also need to prevent, right? You need to prevent. Right? So here also mention the elaborations. Usually my answers are right. Deterrence is countermeasures that make criminals abandon their ideas of attacking because of warning or punishment. Right? Deterrence. Tell students, don't cheat in the exam. If you get caught, you got your whole paper. So it's like warning. Right? Or we send you warning letters. So that's warning, deterrence. The next level, prevention measures. Right? Prevent. You still need to have a preventions. Either you set up fence, right? Or you set up firewalls. Right? Some of these things, like for example, you might have a padlock. Don't come into the lectures. Then like the lectures at night during holiday seasons, we'll lock the lecture, we'll lock the lab, right? But we'll put up signboard. Don't when there's no lecture, don't come in. So those are warnings. But if there's no lecture, we'll lock. So lock will be the preventions. Digital lock could be the preventions, right? A door, a fence, iron gate, iron grill, it's all preventions. So what preventions do you have? Right? So authentication devices, not like one-time password, token, you need a smart card, to access to the places. So these are prevent, or using firewalls. Right? So firewalls. The next level is detections. Right? If I warn you, you don't scare. you still continue and you penetrate my defense system, my prevention mechanism, my wall, you break into my door, then you still come in, you break into my padlock, my digital lock, you still come in, then I have another level of detection, just like intrusion detection system. Right? After the firewall is intrusion detection system. So you manage to break in, my lecture theatre got motion detections, okay? They can call sensors to detect that you came in, you trigger the alarm. So these are detections, right? Or I can use software, like network monitoring system. They can monitor, nobody is supposed to come in, nobody is supposed to access this, but there's somebody accessing during the midnight. So you will trigger an alarm, okay? Trigger an alarm, okay, to notify there's an intruder. Not just like when you break into a house, there's a burglar system, right? And then sound the burglar. It could be a silence alarm, okay? Silence alarm is you secretly send to the police station or to the network engineer or to alert any of the system administrator that unwanted intruders has penetrated into your system and start accessing through on something, right? And that will trigger, right? So these are at least the three mechanisms, three strategies: deterrence, prevention, and detections. Right? So three measures, three strategies. Okay, so some students they miss this slide, then they suggest other security measures, right? Depending how good they are to come to these three. So these are the three defense strategies, okay, that most people will use. And one of these defense could be have multiple layers, right? Nobody says you cannot have multiple layers. Just like for example, preventions. To prevent you from coming in, I can have other than the lock, okay, I have biometrics devices, okay, to authenticate you. I have iron grill to prevent you from coming in. I have security guards, okay, to prevent you. Right? Just like before you even enter to this lecture theatre, at night, first you have to penetrate the security guard. Right? After the security guard, maybe you have to penetrate to the front door, front entrance of the SIM. And then after that, you have to penetrate, and then maybe the lift are all shut down. Okay, the doors are all shut. Right? So you're going to penetrate a few. Right? So you can have multiple layers. Okay, with different methods. Okay, with different methods. Just like I mentioned, you can have padlock, you have a digital lock. Okay, you have pin pad, right? You can have eyeball kind of authentication, access lock, etc. Then you have a cardless, those wireless card kind of access also, right? And then before you even come in, you have to enter a PIN. So you can have many methods. Right? So same as software, right? Software you can have a network firewall. Okay, you have a server firewall. Okay, you can have a routers firewall. So you can have hardware devices to prevent unauthorized access. Right. So attack can also be very creative. Doesn't have to be technical all the time. Some attacks are non-technical. Okay, non-technical. Technical, of course, are uniquely, like, for example, you think hackers have to be a programmer? Not necessary, right? You might not need to know a lot about the network to attack, right? Sometimes, like I said just now, we saw using the social engineering attack, right? Influence, okay, trick people into giving you your user ID and password. Right? So if I know your PIN number, if I know your user ID, I don't care what kind of firewalls or what kind of authentication and encryption method you use. I already know the password, I know how to access. Why I care about the kind of protection mechanism. Right? Just like the security guard. To get by the security guard, if I can access to your Star card, okay, or lecturer cards, good enough with you. Huh? Who cares how big size your security guard, okay, or how many security guard you have? But as long as I got your PIN number, user ID, and okay, all the secret, okay, I can get through, right? Or I manage to befriend with people with priorities, with privileged access. I just follow him to come in also can, right? So there are also some non-technical attack. Doesn't mean that attack has always to be technical, right? So there are also ways like you plan in. Technical attack also involve using viruses, right? Viruses to attack, right? And a lot of time we use the word viruses most of the time, right? There are also another virus in a way, okay, but it's called worm. And there are some subtle difference between the worm, okay, program and the viruses, right? Viruses is, okay, it's just like your COVID, right? It depends on they need somebody, okay, to write on. Just like COVID, they need human to transmit the virus, right? They need an agent to help to transmit the virus, right? It doesn't have the capability to spread by itself. Whereas the worm, on the other hand, it can replicate, it can move around by itself. Just like a worm, it can move around, right? But to catch the COVID, you need an agent to help you to carry, right? That's why there's a virus carrier, carry the virus, right? But a worm program is different, right? A virus will need an email to write on as an attachment. A virus will need you to use sit in a thumb drive. So if you change thumb drive, but nowadays nobody use thumb drive. Last time also this. Okay, so you basically eliminate. But a worm, it doesn't need any host. It doesn't need human activations. Right? It doesn't need anybody to trigger. The worm can move by itself. Right? It can spread by itself. Right? So there's a difference. So this one actually more dangerous. Right? The worm can use the network to propagate itself. Okay? Without the use of like email attachment, like you need to play some game to trigger. Right? And of course there's also the Trojan horse. Right? Trojan horse is like you thought it's a harmless kind of program. Okay, such as I just download this program. It's an alarm system, and thought it just do alarm, but it could be doing something else, right? It could be running some email program and behind your devices and destroying some of your personal details or altering your details or make unauthorized transactions without you knowing, right? So such are the stuff. Right? Especially now, you basically use a lot of password, okay? And some of the passwords are actually stored in some of the cloud, right? Because you enter once and then sometimes you just you remember your password. So those, okay, can be quite dangerous. Right, major technical security attack methods. Okay, so these are some of the ways. Okay, either use plant viruses into a server, right? How do you destroy a server? Likely is you try to get someone, okay, or use hosts to pass on to some of the malware into the existing server program, a web sourcing program, right? So you can use that form of attack, okay, by destroying, okay, a program, or you can have unauthorized access through various methods. Okay, by gaining access to the user ID, password, and all those, right? Either you steal somebody's cards or steal somebody's password, or you manage to get hold of the access control user ID password through some other means like befriending, tricking people into giving your password, or you stand behind somebody's, okay, to see what they enter. Like some students, sometimes they will come behind that's why some of the lecturers also comment, they come into the lecturer's staff room. Sometimes the students ask for something, then they stand behind the lecturers to see what's inside, what on the lecturer's screen, okay, and then when the lecturer tries to access the Moodle, they will enter the user ID and see what the keyword password they enter. So these are another ways, okay, by peeping and somebody's secrets, right? And sometimes, okay, actually another way is there's always camera. You see camera over there, right? That camera can actually see what you key in here. So you can also have, if you can work part-time as a security guard, okay, you can do a time job like that. Then who knows, you might be able to play back some of the security camera, right? You don't have to wait, right? So this camera will be able to capture what I type in, right? Especially when I open my laptop, right? The camera there can see what I key in, right? Initial few keystroke is all the window user ID password. After that, I might go into my Moodle. You can also have access to the video record. You may be able to click. Right? Some have zoom mechanism, can zoom in. So these are various unknown ways you can actually capture. Right? It's all over the place. The lab also got camera. I can also capture yours. You can see all the cameras everywhere. Right? There's camera behind also. Right? You can also access. Okay, and then sometimes we can have access to some of these securities camera by saying that we suspect that some students who sometimes we have exam, okay, we have quiz, online quiz. So students, okay, will be doing their quiz, okay, logging into the Moodle, and then maybe you want to check who's been copying notes, okay, from each other or who is. Right? So denial of service attack, this is the DOS. Okay, just now I mentioned DOS attack in short. How we call this the DOS attack? Denial of service attack. Right? So this is like sometimes the no-brainer kind of attack. No-brainer kind of attack, which means that we don't need to analyze your system. We don't need to find your user ID and password. You don't need to know what kind of firewall, padlock, or whatever defense system. Right? We have a more powerful radar or wireless system, or even spamming, so that we can overwhelm your system. Okay, overwhelm your network. Right? So, for example, the internet access over here using Wi-Fi. So if you're using the Wi-Fi here, so there's one Wi-Fi there, there's one Wi-Fi there, and I think there's about 5 or 6. Okay, there's one there, there's so many Wi-Fi. Right? So if I have got I find a bigger Wi-Fi and more powerful Wi-Fi system, I plant one here. Right? What will happen? If there's 2 Wi-Fi access points, just like the one at you at home, right, where you use the single access point, right? Usually your laptop will find the most powerful signal to attach, right? So if I'm here, who's got the strongest signal, right? It's that one. I won't be attaching my network to that one. So I might be prone to access to this network because this network is stronger. So I connect. Okay, by default, your laptop will connect to the strongest signal, right? So I can use my strong Wi-Fi to basically overwhelm your signals also, so that you won't be using that. You will be using my access point, right? And I can bring down the system, right? Just like a place so noisy, then I bring even a louder speakers, you can't even hear me, right? So that could be one way, of such attack. Or I can use this, to basically get whatever your transactions go into my access point instead of accessing to the legitimate one. So which means that all your transmission, all your transactions will basically go through my network instead of the SIMS network, right? So spam again is almost like the denial of service. You know what is spamming, right? Spamming with so much information that you don't know what to do, or your system just got buffer overflow, or hang. Or hijacking your website. Hijacking your website, your server. right? So I could hijack your URL, I could hijack your web pages, copy your web pages, and you thought it's a real one. Okay, there's also the Boynet attack. This is using the zombie army, right? The mass. So you can have large number of those infected computers. Okay, you can harness their power and then launch a big attack. Right? So some example is something like this, right? You can use triggered by some of these actions and you can just bomb someone. Okay, so these are just some example, right? These are just telling you in the past, there's also a lot of portable storage devices. So that is how computer can get spread, okay, by attaching to some of the storage devices such as the disk drive, diskette. But nowadays you don't have it. And so most of the virus attack likely will be coming from as a Trojan horse or as an email attachment. Okay. So there are also fake things, like deep fake. I'm sure you've heard about deep fake, right? So there was one that's been used, okay, during the Ukraine war. The Russians are very good in their programming or cyberspace kind of attack. Right? So one of the things is they take over the Ukraine. Either that nowadays when you start a war, you don't start shooting missiles, right? You destroy all their utilities, and just now I mentioned electricity. That is one way to take down. Next, you attack their radio stations, their TV station, bring it down. Okay, or you take over their radio TV station and then broadcast. Okay, broadcast to the national TV. Like in this case, the Ukraine. Right? They have used deepfake program, or they use this, right? And then tell them. I think they were using the Zelensky face. And then it's like the president telling the Ukraine people, lay down your weapon, we are destroyed, we want to surrender. And people thought, our president said that we're supposed to surrender and lay down our weapon. Right? So these are like tricks. Okay, so I think you know, deepfake. Nowadays can use a lot of AI or video generate. Okay, you can take over somebody's face and you thought it's for real, right? So these are cyber warfare. Okay, and there are also some fake information about this Taylor Swift. I think you guys heard about all this. Right? So Singapore are pretty much into this. You see, cyber security firms help to burst some of the platform, and they are selling some of these phishing kits. Nowadays, you can download, just like I told you about the keylogger. Then the keylogger is just a simple software. You go and search out Google search, you can download the software. Phishing kit, how to fake another website. There are also kits like this, right, that teach you on YouTube, how to hack into the WPT or wireless key. Sometimes they teach you step by step. Or download the software kits, they teach you step by step to capture somebody's secret password, right? So nowadays all come in bundles, right? So Singapore are pretty much into this, and they are coming up with very steep kind of a punishment for people who are able to fake, okay, or sell some of these phishing kits, right? If you look at it carefully, right? So they are coming after people who try to sell some of these so phishing kits. Okay, so you don't have to be a programmer or high-tech guy to use some of these kits, because they got step-by-step to teach you how to steal Windows password, user ID password, etc. Right? Okay, so they basically try to help you to give out the payment details, personal information through fake pages, right? Fake pages. Right? So attacks are everywhere, so you need to be alert on some of these cyber attack or cyber warfare, right? Right, so here just give you a glimpse of what is the social engineering attack from phishing, okay, or trying to trick you into making certain payment or transferring money. Now we receive, you heard this all the time, right? So there are all these phishing attacks, and they will try to trick. Basically, essentially, it's about tricking victims to provide sensitive information, right? And once they got this information, they will basically go and sell on the black market, okay, some of these features or the merchants who need them. Right? So again, these are just diagrams, and some are using malicious URL. Okay? Malicious URL, fake URL, or bluff URL, especially nowadays everybody scan QR code, right? So some of the QR code could be fake and trick you into submitting your answers or submitting your credentials or sensitive information through QR code. And some of these QR codes are fake and they may lead you to a malicious URL. And the URL, if you never look properly, okay, sometimes there's a difference between dbs.com and dbs.com.sg. Right? There's a difference, on some of the websites. So you have to be careful. Some is the DBSS. Sometimes you type wrongly. So that could also lead you to redirect you to a website. Okay? And even if you enter a real website, I could also attack your DNS server to redirect you to a wrong website, which is like a phishing attack. Right? So sometimes, even if you are trying to be careful, sometimes you won't know. Right? So there are also ways to cover up. Right, so there's also another CIA, which is also quite popular in terms of ensuring informations are correct. First, other than what we have talked about, authentications, authorization, and non-replications, just how we discussed, there's also another thing about data. How do you ensure that data is confidential? Only those who are allowed to read can read, right? You need to ensure that the information, especially what? Your user ID and password. Okay? Your user ID and password cannot be stored in the database, in the database in clear. Right? All of us have been, the user ID and password has to be stored somewhere, but cannot be stored in clear in the database. Why? Because there's always the database administrator, just like a bank, like DBS Bank, for example. If you work in a DBS Bank, at the back end, and worse, if you are the DBS Bank network engineer or even the database administrator, which means what? If I'm the database administrator, I have access to the DBS data of all the people's personal details, your bank balance, your user ID, and your password, isn't it? I'm the database administrator. I manage the database. Can you have a clear password in there where the database administrator can see? Do you see where I'm getting from? If I'm the database administrator, I have access, full access right to the database. Somebody got to have access to that. If your user ID and password is not clear, then I can literally know everybody and access to everybody's account. Right? So to prevent that, you must make sure that even the database administrator, they don't know your password. And how can you make sure that the database administrator who have access to the bank's database cannot see your password? You have to encrypt it, right? You have to hash it. Later maybe we have time we can talk about it. Right? So that is confidentiality. Even the most data administrator, network administrator who can sniff the traffic. They cannot capture your transaction in clear. Right? That's confidentiality. Right? No one can see your password. No one will know your password. Even the computer, the programmer, the data administrator, all these people cannot see your password. Passwords are not stored in clear. Right? Which means it has to be scrambled. Right? So there's no way even your software, your bank computer guys will know. Right? So that's confidentiality. How do you ensure everything is encrypted? Right? Even transactions through the internet, it has to be under VPN, SSL, secure socket connection, encrypted. So nobody can eavesdrop, can record your transactions. Right? Integrity. E-commerce transactions, other than confidential, you also must make sure that the data itself cannot be altered. Right? If I make a credit of $500, $500, I must have a way to ensure that information, $500, nobody can change it, right? During the transmission. Right? Otherwise, anybody can change, go in and change, or database and change. Instead of crediting 100 or 500, I add an extra 0, right? Or add something, or alter the message. The moment anybody alter the message during the transmission, the data integrity will fail. Right? So you also must ensure during the e-commerce, e-business transactions, other than the transactions has to be encrypted, confidential, you must make sure that nobody can change the message. Nobody can change or alter the message. Right? So that's integrity. So you must use what? Checksum to make sure. The moment somebody change the command or the message, somebody will know. The other end will know that this message has been tampered. Right? This is very important for any e-business transactions. Or somebody send a contract and then somebody go and change the will, change the contract. You must be able to detect. So that's integrity. Cannot change. Availability, again we talk about that, right? Must be always available. So how do you ensure? Right? Even if the premise server is down, the network is down, is there another path? Is there another alternative way to reach it? Right? So you must have plan like this. Right? So again, here are more on the e-commerce strategies. So other than the three ways that we talk about, right? The prevention, the deterrence, and the detections. Right? There are actually a lot of ways in between. Right? How do you respond to it? Right? How do you respond? Right? So you need to have early response. Okay? Do you warn? Do you alert the person, hey, don't come in, inform you, somebody trigger, right? So if you detect and if you find somebody has attacked into your system, right? If you discover, hey, somebody break into our safe, so what do? You lock the door, right? You contain, right? Just like if your system discover, sometimes you got antivirus software, then they discover what? There's a virus, right? So you quarantine, contain, you quarantine the damage, right? You quarantine the virus file. You put it somewhere, just like during the exam also, last year during COVID, if we discover somebody who's sick or got COVID, we send them to sick bay, sick room, quarantine, right? We remove him, right? We contain. If you can't contain the viruses, you irritate them, right? You irritate it, right? So basically you remove it, right? Delete it. Just like if I can't quarantine, I delete it, eradicate it, right? So you basically remove it. What other ways? Right? If we found that somebody had corrupt our data, is there a way to recover? This is where those students or those people who study those forensic, right? Computer forensic, right? Basically, is you are preparing for this recovery, right? Is there a way to recover? Right? If somebody delete my files, is there a way to recover? There's a few ways. Of course, the easiest one is what it went to the trash. Can I undelete it? Right? We can, right? Most of the time. Or you use software such as Norton Utilities. Right? There's also a way to recover the file. And of course, the computer forensic students will also have other ways to try to recover. Through either using the checksum and then do a reverse engineering, try to recover it, right? Or is there a way to correct it, right? Somebody damaged, destroyed, or alter certain things. Is there a way to recover? Some of these things you require checksum to recover, right? And the other phase, of course, to create awareness and compliances. Okay, this is through educations, right? Through educations. Like social engineering attack. People want to attack using those non-techie or attack to my personal secretary. So you must go and educate your personal secretary, okay, or those people who are not IT trained. Tell them if you've got antivirus, you must quarantine it. You must regularly update your dictionary, virus dictionary. Just like a doctor. The doctor never update his skills, right? Will not be able to detect some of the virus or know how to cure, right? So antivirus software, they need to be regularly updated with the latest cure, right? Otherwise, got new every now and then there will be new viruses, new attack. Just like COVID. Last time don't have, suddenly got this COVID. For once, the whole world don't know what to do, so they start quarantining people because there was no vaccine for it, because there's no cure for it, right? So for the first time, I think it was a mistake. They do this quarantine thing for almost 2-3 years, right? I mean, for the longest time, how many 100,000 years of human mankind, we don't have deadly diseases, not like chicken, SARS. I hope you all still remember. Also from SARS and all this. We never quarantine people, right? And it still just spread, right? But just that now, with all the information, we start to quarantine people. It was bad for the economy, right? So, is there a way to correct? So, awareness, through educating your employees, all your employees, to tell them that they have to be aware, of all these attacks, socially engineering attack. Like people might want to befriend you, or trick you, or give you certain freebies, and then trick into giving, like your boss date of birth, your boss NRIC, or the son or the wife names, whatever, right? So you must train your secretary. And anything about me, you are supposed to be my confidential secretary. You're not supposed to tell anyone, right? You are paid to keep your mouth shut, right? You are my own, right? So you have to constantly train them awareness and compliances, and this is very important, right? In fact, if you work in the government sectors, on and on every year, we have to pass some of these questions. When we went through the course, pass some of this to tell you that if there's any operating update or Windows update, I think you better do the update. And don't every time, like some students don't bother. Every time got Windows update, don't want to update. Okay, your operating system update, don't want to update. That's like your handphone. Right? Handphone sometimes also regularly got a lot of OS update. And you don't want to update. Okay, that's a danger. Because like I say, the old operating system, okay, comes with millions and billions lines of codes. Right? Whoever programming got millions and billions. And it's impossible for them to ensure that this operating system is foolproof. Okay, there's no bugs in it, there's no backdoor. So they regularly will update and patch up all these loopholes. Right? Whenever they discover some vulnerabilities, they will update. Right? And now there's a way for them to push the latest update into your handphone. Right? So that you got all those back programming bugs fixed up. Okay? Otherwise, some of these viruses will make use, okay, of all these loopholes. Right, so access control, authorization, authentication, and biometrics. Okay, biometric system, which means that this is other than testing you, okay, there's always three ways. What you know is usually your password and your, right? That's what you know. What you have is the second factor or one-time password. Right? That's the second level. What you know, people can steal. What you have, do you have your handphone? Do you have the token? That is what you have. Do you have receive the SMS? Right? That is testing. Not more than just one level up. Other than testing what you know, which you might tell your friends, tell your wife, tell your relative. Then the second level, you have the sample, do you have the staff card, do you have the token. So that's another layer, right? So they make it second factors. Then the third level is biometrics. Right? What you have, what you know, and what you are. That's the biometrics. Biometrics is what you are. Do you have your eyeball? Do you have your fingerprint? It's something personal, something only you have it. Not what you have, but what you are. Do you have the do you have the voice recognitions? Biometrics. Okay, biometrics. Okay, so of course the most common one is using our fingerprint. Right? Only you have your own fingerprint. You can't pass it to anyone. Right? Only you have the voice, okay, that people can recognize. Right? Voice recognitions. You can also use that. Okay, or you use your palm size. Right? Those are biometrics. Okay, but the most secure biometrics, of course, is not the iris scanner, but the retina scanner. So some people scan the eyeball. Right? That's in the army, right? They use. It's better than your fingerprint because fingerprint people can also find. If you look at the James Bond movie, if you last time have seen before, right? People can capture people's thumbprint, and our thumbprint is all over the place, right? At the toilet door, at the knob here, and everywhere, right? Or you hand over, like the spy, you give them a glass of water, and then people will hold one thing in print, so they've got the print of your fingerprint, so they can copy it. So that's the worst fingerprint. Okay. The next level, of course, is your eyeball, right? Your eyeball, your radius, iris scanner, which means they scan the iris there. But iris nowadays, people also can wear the iris contact lens for these things, and they can also fake. So the best is retina scanner, which means your scanner will basically scan the blood vessel behind your eyeball. That one is the most difficult one. Right? So that's the biometric system. Okay? Right. So, encryptions. Right? Just now we talked about confidentiality. How do you ensure that data is confidential? How do you ensure that data transmit over the air especially now, transmit over the air. How do you ensure it's kept secret, encrypted? Nobody can eavesdrop, nobody can tap, right? So you have to make sure. So the only way is encrypt it. Right? How do you do encryptions? Right? A plain text sent over the air on wireless, right? You need to encrypt it so that nobody can read. Become a cyber text, scrambled message, not scrambled, right? So you use a private key, right? You use a key to encrypt it. Then how to decrypt? You use the same key that you use to encrypt and decrypt it, right? And become the plain text. So, which means that the sender and the receiver both must have the same private key. Both must have the same key. And this is what we call the symmetric key. Same private key. They call this the private key is because this key cannot tell anyone. Okay, cannot tell anyone. The moment you tell someone, they can have access to decrypt. Right? This is in the past, right? In the army, okay, and still being used right now. Okay, for certain area. Okay, later we will see. Right? So this is symmetric key, using one key to do decrypt and encrypt, or encrypt and decrypt, vice versa. So this key is very powerful. You need that. Okay, you don't have to know in detail unless you're coming for my sub-paper. But then again, sub-paper don't come out this one so simple. It will come out others. Okay. The next level, okay, is just now this scenario. This scenario is not possible when I want to send to, let's say, 200 students here. I just want to only send my model answer, but I want to encrypt it. Or exam paper, I only want this class to know. I don't want outside people to know. So if I use this method, means I must share 200 people my private key. It becomes not private anymore, isn't it? Not very good, right? So is there a way to better publish? So people come out with this PKI, public key infrastructure, right? Public key. So it's a bit different. Okay, so this one is called the asymmetric. This is symmetric. Use the same key. So here, asymmetric means different key, right? So they have a private key and a public key, right? Two key. So if you use one key to encrypt, you need to use another key to decrypt, right? Simple. I just now use one key to encrypt and decrypt. This one is you got two keys, right? You use one key to encrypt, you use the other key to decrypt, right? So obviously, public key means what? I give it to people, all the people, like these 200 people, I give you my public key, so that you don't have access to my private key, right? So private key means I keep it, I don't share. Public key is I can share freely, right? In some certificate authority infrastructure, you can access, right? So you use one key to encrypt, you use the other key to decrypt, right? Having this private key is good. It's also a way to basically verify this is like my digital signature, right? So when you receive my exam paper, you know it's from me because only Mr. Liao have that private key, right? So you know it's me, not from anyone else. This is where it also tackles the problem of non-reputations, right? Because these come in a pair. This private key must come with this public key, no other pair of key. It's a pair of keys, right? Another private key will have another public key, right? So if you got my public key, right, you know it's from me because it's like I sign on it. Okay? And this key, private key, is usually used to generate the digital signature. Just like I got my private pen, only I sign. Just like certificate, I issue certificate, I sign on it. You get a doctor's MC, the doctor sign on it. So it's like private key, private signature. So because of this digital signature, I know only the doctor can issue the MC. Because of the signature by the Dean of UOW, people will know, all the potential HR, they will know, oh, this is a valid UOW bachelor degree because it's been signed by the Deans of UOW, digital signature, right? Signature, so you know. So people use this for transactions. Transactions, very important infrastructure for e-commerce, or the non-repudiating, nobody can dispute. Hey, you sign this contract, you sign this check, you sign this electronic wallet, it's from you, nobody else cannot dispute, right? You endorse it. So that is the digital signature, very important for data integrity also, and also non-repudiation. Hash function is like a one-way function, right? Message digest is like summary, okay? Just like, when a lot of times you write a lot of report, then you got abstract or summary. Something is in that sense. Message digest is like an abstract or a summary, right? If you, this message digest is like a data integrity check, right? You use the hash function to derive this, to do summarize, one-way function. But if anyone change, this one will change. So this one is usually used for data integrity check. This is used for non-repudiations, right? So there are different purposes, non-repudiations, right? And this is for data integrity check. So there's also a digital envelope, and certificate authorities are basically to authorize, just like passport. How do you know the passport is for real? Who issued the passport? Immigrations, right? So who issued the private key and the public key? Somebody got to manage this set of key. Who? Certificate authorities. They are the one who issue these two keys. And then this is also the basis for SSL connections, right? Socket layers connections, right? So a lot of the website has secure connections, right? So, I don't know, let's just check. Right? You can see that HTTP and there's a S. Right? You notice there's an S. Even Yahoo, they have. This is all secure connections, SSL. Right? Unlike the one HTTP that you have. When you have this, you know there's a secure connections, right? You can verify the digital signatures, all these things, right? I'm not going to go through that. But this is the SSL, secure socket layer. Right, which means that anything you send out, like even now your WhatsApp, I regularly got say secure connection, which means that any message, text messages that you send out is encrypted, right? It's encrypted. Okay. Right, I'm just going to make one attempt to explain this diagram. If you still don't understand, don't worry. Most likely will come up with the. It's not important for the main exam. But it's also good that some of you know. I think some of you will know cyber security. Right? So I'm just going to make one attempt. But I can't guarantee. You can come up with the sub paper. Main paper I can guarantee will come up. So. But of course, for those who want to know about cyber security or cyber, then you should know this. But like I say, it's also very important for e-commerce. I'm going to state it's important for e-commerce to know this. In fact, I know this and I got my job as an e-commerce. E-commerce one of the managers role. Right? Without this, I don't think I can get the job. Right? But anyway, it's still important for some people. I'm not stating for the main. If you still don't understand after my one attempt, then you can always go to the YouTube, my YouTube video. which I will publish, and you can also get it from there. Right, so this is about a few things, okay, using what just now I mentioned about symmetric key infrastructure, which is using one key to encrypt and decrypt. And it also uses this diagram consolidate the symmetric key infrastructure as well as the asymmetric, which is using one key to encrypt and decrypt, and also another pair of key to encrypt and using a public key to decrypt. Right? So it has the whole, okay, it forms the basis, okay, of secure transactions, which involve the non-reputations, generating the digital search, encrypting the message, as well as using a hash function to derive a message digest to ensure data integrities. Okay, so it encompasses the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, right? Except for the availability, right? So at least the two very important parts. Okay, so so this is first. So you have got the sender sending something to the recipient, right? You want to send something across, a message, right? You want to send this message like a contract, okay? Message, this message. You want to send to this guy, okay? And you have to make sure that during your transmission, nobody can decrypt, nobody can change the message. How would you do it? Right? So basically this kind of tell you how to do it. Right? So you want to send send something over the air, over whatever, okay, wired network. You want to send this message, okay, but you must encrypt it, you must enclose into a digital envelope, okay, and nobody can change your message also. Right? Just like I send a message, please attack Russia at midnight. Right? That's a command to the commander in front. And nobody can go and change the message. Say what? Attack after 1 a.m. Right? You cannot go and change it. If you change it, I will know. And I also need you to tell me that this command is from Ukraine, not from Putin. So you must also be able, the recipient must know that nobody can send that message. Only this sender, or only Ukraine, or only Mr. Liao can send. Right? Nobody. Right? Nobody can send. Right? Just like Mr. Liao want to send this message to you, right? You must make sure that, hey, this tips, is it from Mr. Liao? Or is it, when I say don't study chapter 1, then somebody go change, study chapter 1. So you must also make sure that the message not altered, and this is from Mr. Liao. This tips is for real, not fake one. Okay, very important, right? Okay, whether chapter 1 is coming up for the exam, it depends on whether you can non-repetition, is it seriously from Mr. Liao, and if anyone change the message, right? So how do we do it? The message here. So first, a lot of steps, right? Message, okay? So this is like what? Chapter 1 is not important. Let's say the chapter 1 is not important. First, chapter 1 not important, I hash it. Okay? Mr. Liao need to hash the message. Chapter 1 not important. Hash is what? Okay, don't worry about what hash are. It's like a summary. Right? The reason why we need to hash it is we need to make it like a digest, like a summary, a short form. Okay? This is important, okay, to help me to generate a signature also. Okay? It's important to generate a signature. So I use a hash function. This hash function is a one-way function. There's no reverse one. Right? So it's just like chapter 1 is not important. When I hash it, it becomes a message digest. So the message digest could turn out to be something like chat 1 not. something like this, a smaller version, a standard size, usually a fixed size. Okay, that's why it's called digest. Then I use my private key. Notice I use Mr. Liao key, okay, the sender, which is me. Right? Once I got this, after I hash the digest, I use my private key, I sign on it. Okay? Or Mr. Liao sign. Chapter 1, chat 1, not important. Right? Generate a signature. Come with a signature. Okay? After that, I combine the whole message and the signature. Right? It becomes, it's just like my documents. Right? This part is to generate my signature because I use my private key to sign on it. Then it comes into, I integrate. Maybe I come up with the whole documents. Okay? Right? So it attached together. Right? So this becomes the full message. Chapter 1 is not important, signed by Mr. Liao. Right? And I want to encrypt it. And that is the whole message I want to send. So, but before I send, I need to encrypt it. Right? I need to encrypt it. It's just that I put into a digital envelope. Now, I use another infrastructure. I use the recipient public key. Right? You notice? Sender encrypt using recipient public key. Right? I encrypt it. Okay? You remember? Just now the pair of key, the pair of key you can use for encrypting, up to you. Right? But if I use the public key to encrypt, right? If I use the public key to encrypt, I must use the recipient private key, recipient private key to encrypt, right? So I encrypt it, so we count that this transmission is encrypted, right? This transmission is encrypted. So for example, Mr. Liao's signature, chapter 1 not important, I send to maybe him, John, okay, John. So I use John's public key, okay, to encrypt it. So only John can receive my message, right? Because John has to use his private key, Only he has his own private key. So I actually sending a secure message to him, say chapter him, I got plagiarism. Don't let people know. I only want to let him know, right? Because I like him, right? So I only send a secret message, chapter 1 not important. Signed by me using my signature. I look for his public key. Okay, because it's available, I look for his public key. If I want to send to her, I look for her public key. Right? If I want to send to him, I look for his public key. So I do a lot of things. Right? So I encrypt. I do that is because only he can use his own private key. I send to him digital envelope, another encryption, only he can decrypt it. Right? So once he decrypt it, what do he get? He get the message. Right? Chapter 1 is not important, plus my digital signature. Remember? On top, I put them together. Now, he managed to decrypt. He got the real message. Chapter 1 not important, Mr. Liao's signature. Now, how does he know is this message not being altered? How do I know whether this message is not being altered? Right? First, I need to message, is this true or not? How do I find out? So, I went through the same hash function. Chapter 1, not important. I go through the hash function, which is the same hash function over here. Using the same function, chapter 1 not important. I use that over here. Okay. Chapter 1 not important. Go through the same function. It's exactly the same thing that I do. I should get the same, right? Otherwise, okay, I get a message digest, right? I'm not sure whether it's correct or not. So I have to use the digital signature. Okay, so now I use the digital signature, Mr. Liao's signature, and I use Mr. Liao public key. See, this is another one. Use the Mr. Liao public key. I reverse and see whether I can get the message digest, right? So this part is the reverse, right? Since I'm using Mr. Liao's private key, I need to use Mr. Liao's public key, right? To get back this message digest. Right? So I perform a hash function and I perform another decryption of this from that time because I got this message, inside this message actually got two parts. Message, the real message, the signature. Using that I divide. Then I compare. Is these two digest the same? If they match, means this message is correct. Nobody change it. If I change this message, like chapter 1 is not important, then somebody will change. Chapter 2 is not important, I will not be able to get the same digest as this. Right? I'll be getting another funny digest. Right? Going through the hash function because somebody has changed it. It's different from this message. This and this is different. The moment somebody changed it. Right? So message digest will be different. This signature, because I use Mr. Liao public key, right? I know for sure it's from Mr. Liao. If I use somebody else's public key, again, I will not be able to get the same message digest. So this and this, either one, okay, if they don't match, means one of them is not right. It's not from Mr. Liao, and it's not the right authentic message. Okay? Good? Period. Anyway, you all can read this from any YouTube. They should be able to explain on the public or how to generate digital signatures. It's all over the place on YouTube. Otherwise, you can revisit during my video on these chapters. Right? So to move on, so that we can wrap up today's lesson. Firewalls. Okay, firewall, virtual private networks. Okay, firewall itself is like can be hardware, can be software. Firewall is like a wall. Okay, they prevent people from coming in. Okay, they scrutinize the traffic, prevent people. Okay, so you can also build a deep retry zone. Okay, where you have two firewalls, one internal firewall and one external. This is a bit technical, so usually won't come out also, right? Unless some people VPN is basically virtual private network, means encrypted, so that nobody is tunneling, right? Message that go through, that's like MRT. When the MRT goes through a tunnel, you know what's happening inside there because it's a tunnel, you can't see, right? Same thing. VPN pass through, just like just now you saw, digital envelope. Remember the card that transmits is encrypted. Nobody can see. You sniff also encrypted information, so you don't know. Intrusion detection system, just like burglar alarm system. If I can detect, okay, I can alert people. So you have a burglar system. Honeypot, honeynet, okay. This is just a trick, okay, to trick people. Right? To trick hacker into going to another fake network. Okay, while the hackers can trick us, we can also trick the hackers, right? By making them think that they went to the server with all the past year exam paper, right? Where I just simply rename all the fake exam paper, obsolete exam paper with 2025 exam, okay, coming out. I can pull up something, I can set up something. Just like honeypot, you know, when you want to trick people to eat your fridge one, then you put some sugar or put some poison, okay, and then let the rat catch it. It's the same thing, right? You put a fake network and then like easy access so that people attack that one and don't ignore the other one, right? Or you put the server name, some people put server name or SSID name, a staff network. Just like when you scan, when you do your Wi-Fi scan, right? You scan, sometimes you can see staff network, sometimes you see student network. Which network will you attack? Obviously, you will attack the staff, why you bother the student? Go inside, get all the wrong information, wrong assignment, or lousy assignment, right? You also get go to the staff network. So sometimes we can set up staff, instead of staff, now you change to something else that is no meaning, that's the most secure way. Okay, so this is like a demilitarized zone. Okay, just like North Korea, South Korea, they also got a demilitarized zone, right? There's no military here, right? So they have firewall. Okay, so that usually we talk about internal and external firewall. So external will fight against those external, prevent those external. Internal firewall also must guard against employees who try to send confidential documents out, right? So we got this kind of firewalls. Again, it's more for your information. It's important for e-commerce, but not so sure. I think likely it's not important for the exam. Okay, for this coming exam, I'm not talking about coming exam. Okay, but still work in progress, so not finalized yet. So don't take my word for it also yet. You must come for my last lectures to double confirm. Okay, because almost done, but I haven't sent for approval yet. Okay, you have to head into my email to find out. Okay, protecting the computers. Okay, so these are just ways to protect the computers, cyber crime, etc. Social engineering, I think we'll keep this part. Also, business continuity. Okay, and of course, there's also the risk management. That's why sometimes you can see employ people, especially the bank, like to employ risk manager. Okay, people who study, analyze how risky is to lend someone money, right? So they need to study how can you anyhow lend a bankrupt or people who got no money, $1 million, and the chances we might not be able to get it back, or lend a business that is risky, right? So you must start to charge him more interest or get him more of his collateral, etc. So you need to do those cost and benefit analysis. Okay, so the drivers for e-commerce is more or less the same. Okay, so that's why in risk analysis they have to look at the impact. Okay, what's the impact? Anything ethical or not ethical? Right? What's the impact? How risky is it? How viable is the business? So that one is also another technology. In that I think we will kind of skip it also because would like to know it. E-commerce securities, stock and shopping. Okay, this part is also about mobile devices. Okay, especially all of us are having mobile devices, and we bring our own devices into office, into army, into secret places. So people are preventing them from anyhow use, especially like those people who are in the national service or army before. You know that you're not supposed to carry handphone with cameras, okay? So they will stop you. So there are also ways, okay, to ensure that the e-business or e-workplace is protected. Okay, so this is the last slide, okay, that talk about managerial issues, okay, and I leave this to your reading pleasure. Okay, I think we'll stop here for today. Okay, so we'll see you end of this week for another lecture. Right, so we'll see you guys. Okay, so please make sure tutorial 2 is done by today, right? I think today is deadline, so make sure you finish tutorial 2. Okay, and otherwise, wish you all the best for our collections. Okay, so enjoy your holidays and hopefully you still remember the call. I think then I'll see you then. Thank you.